92.7 WMAY, Springfield's news and talk.
Anytime we can celebrate freedom, I'm all for it. It's the drive of human nature to be free and independent and to not have constraints upon us in our dreams and our hopes and our desires for our families, for ourselves, for our communities. And I think that's one thing that Juneteenth embodies is that sense of freedom. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk now at 7:12, and Juneteenth is Sunday, which is also Father's Day. And kicking off celebrations tonight with the 11 Amp concert series, you've got music on the Y Block that's going to be part of the Juneteenth celebrations. But how did we get to this point where Juneteenth is now a federal holiday and a state holiday and a city holiday? To talk more about this, we've got Teresa Haley with the NAACP with us here on Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Teresa, thanks for taking time with us this morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. You know what? I'm free, so it's a good time.
Fantastic. So again, you know, there's always some controversy anytime a new holiday is created or designated for a particular day. But this one has some real significance in the fact that it really is about a community in this country that was not free, that had freedom, and the significance coming from Springfield, even more so with Abraham Lincoln signing the Emancipation Proclamation. Of course, he was a Springfield native. So give us kind of, I guess, the Cliff Notes, so to speak, of what Juneteenth is and why it's so significant to that fundamental concept of freedom.
Juneteenth is about recognizing that Black folks were free in 1865. But all of us weren't told that we were free. Those of us who migrated to the North had the option to go out and find jobs and try to get homes and live like every other American citizens. But those in the South, especially in Texas, were not told that they were free. So they were still operating underneath slavery until someone said, hey, why are you all still doing things the way that you're doing it? You're free. And they said, no one told us that we were free. So as long as we continue to do things the way we've always done them, nothing's going to change. And for so many Black people in America, nothing changed for many, many years until they found out they were free. But that term freedom in America, freedom isn't free, and we are all aware of that. As Blacks, we continue to fight for our rights. As Black and brown people throughout the United States and abroad, we are continuing to fight for equal justice for all individuals. So for me, Juneteenth is about recognizing freedom and discovering and saying, what is it that still needs to be done to make everyone equal under the law?
You know, I've always been somebody who's been curious, and I understood all throughout school that I wasn't always being told the truth, right? And it takes a certain curious spirit to recognize that and to ask some questions and to do your own looking at history and whatnot. But this is one of those things where people weren't really told about. But this holiday now with Juneteenth, that's a way for us to look at that history and to face it head on and to realize that there are still struggles that happen, not just in this country, but Teresa, I'm sure you're fully aware, slavery still exists all in parts of the world. It's pretty incredible. So we need to continue to elevate the spirit of freedom any chance we get. And again, Juneteenth is just one of those happening Sunday. Of course, that's also Father's Day, but you've got Juneteenth celebrations kicking off tonight at the Y Block for the 11 Amp concert series. So make plans to get out there and stay hydrated, all right? But Teresa, let's talk about a couple of other things that are happening here locally and in particular at the Springfield City Council. Of course, with the council roundup, we unpack a lot of what happens, and one of the issues that came up, and we talked with Alderman Sean Gregory about this last week as well, is the tax dollars from cannabis and how that's going to be put out there for a variety of different businesses. Already some homeowners in parts of the city getting some tax revenue from cannabis sales. Talk about the importance of this program.
Well, Black people in America went to prison because of the war on drugs. As we returned home from prison, we could not find jobs because we had that criminal record. When they first introduced the marijuana legislation, the NAACP, we were totally against this because we realized the negative impact that the war on drugs had on our community. And they said that passing the marijuana legislation was going to help those people most impacted by this. It still has not. The city of Springfield is making some strides. But when you say 3% of the funds are going to go to the community that's most impacted, and then you turn around and give 1.5% of that 3% to fire pension and police pension to make up for their mishap and their misspending, it's still very unfortunate because Black people are still suffering. Black people still are homeless. Black people still have addictions to drugs. And so it just has not been a good thing. And the funds that are coming in that were supposed to correct the wrong are only being distributed to a few people where it needs to be distributed to all people, especially people on the east side who are most impacted. Disproportionately, we have the highest number of unemployment. We have the highest rate of crime. We have the highest rate of rentership and not home ownership. So the money should have been gone to help those people most impacted by the war on drugs. And we did not see that happening in Springfield. But the other night at City Council, they talked about 22, I believe, organizations, including my own, receiving some of these dollars. But they're putting a cap on it because originally they said each organization or businesses could receive up to $100,000. Last night, or a couple of nights ago at City Council, they said only up to $100,000 would be giving totally. And if you received any portion of that, you could not come back and receive up to your $100,000. But for fire and police, it seems like it continues to be ongoing. So we need to change that. We really need to change a lot of the things that are happening down at City Council.
Now 7:18 with Springfield's Morning News. We're talking with Teresa Haley with the NAACP here. Of course, Juneteenth coming up this weekend, and take a moment to learn about that history and to celebrate freedom. Definitely want to keep that front and center. But another issue that came up over the last Committee of the Whole meeting, Teresa, was something we heard about, what was it, 2 months ago or so? It was a grant for $400,000 to go to the Southtown construction group that would go to train new construction workers and get them rehabbing some facilities and some homes. It was stalled 2 months ago. It seemed to be stalled again last night. We could see it come back up next week. What's going on here? What's behind the proposal? But what do you think is also behind it being stalled?
I think it's about politics and it's about union. It's about members of the city council making decisions for themselves, and that's what's best for our community. Southtown Construction is trying to make sure Black men and women have an opportunity at a job to learn a skill where they can provide for their families. I believe that city council members, some of them, are reporting back to the union, and if the union is telling them not to vote for this, they're not going to vote for this. We elect city council members to represent our community, our entire Springfield community. And when there are programs that are out there that are available to help our community, especially those disadvantaged communities, we need to take advantage of that. And I just totally believe that it is unfair from the outside looking in and from the inside looking out. Men and women need jobs, and they keep saying that, people don't want to work. But when you have people contacting Southtown Construction and Bone LLC and saying, hey, when are you starting back up your program? I want to work, or my kid wants to work. We need to be doing better here in the city of Springfield. I know the NAACP, we run a back-to-school, stay-in-school academy. We had 44 kids in our program, 12 graduated. We were only able to help 2 of them find jobs. These are young men and women that could also be employed and be sent through this program to make a difference in their lives and in their families' lives.
So we'll watch that space closely and see what the Springfield City Council ultimately does with that. Of course, the NAACP has its origins in Springfield because of the 1908 race riots, and there's going to be a memorial of sorts, an exhibit that's being planned for the new transportation hub downtown Springfield. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, we are excited as the NAACP. As you know, the NAACP was founded because of the race riot in Springfield in 1908. So the fact that they were able to find artifacts after they did the dig, dealing with the high-speed rail, we want those artifacts to be placed in a place where people traveling through Springfield and people who live in our community can go and learn about their history. So we're excited about partnering with the city of Springfield, with the Illinois State Museum and all of our other community partners to make this happen. But we want to make sure that it's visible, it's available, and it's not on the third floor. You know, it's on the first floor, as when people are traveling through that transportation hub, they can learn more about Springfield's history. The NAACP and the race riot has been a history that's been taboo in this community. But what's in the dark comes to the light, and it's here now, and we need to embrace it, love on it, and learn more about our history.
Teresa Haley with the NAACP, greatly appreciate you taking the time this morning. Happy Juneteenth, and we'll definitely be talking soon, all right?
Thank you. Enjoy your day, and we are free. Bye-bye.
It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop.